In an age of kings and conquerors, when empires were forged by the sword and held by the iron will of men, a woman's place was often seen as secondary. Confined to the gilded cage of the royal court, her duties were to produce heirs, look beautiful, and remain silent. But one woman defied every expectation. This is the story of Isabella of Portugal, the empress who ruled while the emperor fought, a queen whose name should be remembered alongside the greatest leaders in history. Our story begins in 1526, a year of monumental union. Isabella of Portugal, a princess renowned for her intelligence and grace, marries the most powerful man in the world, Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor. His domain stretched from the heart of Europe to the newly discovered Americas. An empire so vast it was, said the sun never set upon it. Theirs was a political match, designed to forge an alliance between Spain and Portugal. But from this arranged marriage, a deep and powerful partnership would grow. While most queens were expected to be decorative figures, Isabella was different. Raised in the highly sophisticated Portuguese court, she was exceptionally well educated, fluent in several languages, and possessed a keen understanding of politics and mathematics. She was not content to simply be a consort. She was destined to be a ruler. 3 years into their marriage, duty called Charles away. The drums of war were beating across Europe, and the emperor had to lead his armies. The Spanish court expected Isabella to do what queens had always done: wait, pray for her husband's safe return, and manage the royal household. They were about to be proven profoundly wrong. As Charles departed, he did something unprecedented. He didn't just leave a council of men in charge. He named his wife, Isabella, as regent of Spain. It was a title with real power, a sign of his absolute trust in her abilities. The court was stunned. A young woman, a foreigner no less, was to govern one of the mightiest kingdoms in the world. Isabella didn't just step into the role, she commanded it. She convened the royal councils, the Cortes, not as a figurehead, but as their leader. Her grasp of the complex issues facing the empire was immediate and total. While Charles was on the battlefield, Isabella was fighting her own wars from the throne room. She faced rebellions in restive provinces, navigating the treacherous waters of local politics with a firm but fair hand. When famine threatened the land, she organized relief efforts. Ensuring grain was distributed to the starving, she managed the empire's finances, a colossal task that involved overseeing the flow of gold and silver from the Americas, funding Charles's endless wars and keeping the kingdom solvent. Her days were a whirlwind of activity. We can imagine her in candlelit chambers, poring over maps of the sprawling empire, dictating letters to ambassadors in Vienna, London, and Rome. She personally supervised the Casa de, the central hub that controlled all Spanish exploration and colonization. She issued decrees, settled legal disputes, and met with generals who soon learned that the Empress was as strategically brilliant as any commander on the field. They came to her for orders, not suggestions. Her authority was absolute. One account tells of a high-ranking nobleman who dared to question her decision. Isabella is said to have fixed him with a steely gaze and replied, "You will do as I say. The emperor's will is my will." The nobleman never questioned her again. She earned a reputation not through fear, but through competence, wisdom, and an unshakable sense of duty. But her life was not just one of politics and power. It was also a life of profound personal struggle. Isabella was a devoted mother to her children, including the future King Philip II. She had to balance the immense pressures of governance with the intimate duties of motherhood, often raising her children alone for long periods. The weight of an empire rested on her shoulders, as did the loneliness of a wife whose husband was constantly in peril. We can see the emotional toll in her letters to Charles, a mix of state reports, strategic advice, and a wife's tender longing for her husband's return. Through it all, she became Charles's most indispensable advisor. He trusted her judgment above all others. When he returned from his campaigns, they would spend hours locked away, discussing policy, strategy, and the future of their empire. She wasn't just his wife. She was his political partner, his equal, called heir, the anchor of his kingdoms. For over a decade, Isabella governed Spain with unmatched skill. She wasn't just holding the fort, she was strengthening the foundations of the empire. Her regency wasn't a temporary measure. It was a period of stable, effective, and visionary rule. She ensured the political and economic stability that allowed Charles to pursue his military ambitions abroad. Without Isabella at home, the empire of Charles V might very well have crumbled. Even her enemies, from the King of France to the Ottoman Sultan, came to respect and fear the Empress in Madrid. They knew that while the Emperor was a formidable foe in battle, the Empress was a master of the political chessboard. Her mind a fortress of strategy and precision. Isabella of Portugal died in 1539, at the young age of 35. Charles was so devastated by her loss that he locked himself away for 2 months in a monastery, wearing black for the rest of his life. He never remarried, stating that he could never replace her. He had lost not just his beloved wife, but the coroller of his empire, the woman who had been his greatest strength. In the grand tapestry of European history, Isabella's thread shines with a unique brilliance. She was not a queen who simply wore a crown. She was a sovereign who wielded power. She didn't wait in the shadows. She commanded from the center of a global empire. Isabella of Portugal proved that a woman's strength could change the destiny of nations, leaving a legacy of leadership that echoes through the centuries. She was the empress who ruled. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as powerful as we did, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon so you don't miss our next journey into history. See you next time.